All right, good evening. Brand new intro bringing us in. We got a brand new look as well here on the Believe in Georgia Dogs podcast on the Believe Network. Joining me is my man, Mr. Avatar himself.
Hey.
Troop, man, what's going on, dude? Here they're getting internet down there pretty soon.
Yep, AT&T is coming through in the clutch. Down here in good old South Georgia. Helene kind of had us backed up for a little while, but shout out to AT&T for doing their due diligence and getting us back up. So we should be back tomorrow, hopefully, no later than early next week. So I'm pretty excited about that, especially when you got two kids that you try to entertain and there's no internet. So we're getting creative around here.
Yeah, it gets a little tricky. So thanks to Helene. Helene's throwing a bunch of curveballs here in our direction, and so we haven't been as consistently with you as we've wanted to be, but we're here tonight and we're getting it going. So, Israel, what's the playoff update for you before we jump into Georgia football?
Oh man, we get to host the first round tomorrow at Veterans Memorial Stadium in the great city of Thomasville. So we're excited about that. Win or go home, pretty much. We had a great week of practice this week, so we're really excited about this opportunity. We got a tough test, if we're able to make it to the third and fourth round, but the goal is to get to Atlanta. So we'll see how it goes.
Hell yeah. So get it rocking, man. So round one, it starts now. Tennessee's in round two of their state playoffs, and
we're always late. We're always the last state to be done. I know Alabama's in round two as well, and I think Arizona's probably in like round three. So
yeah, for sure. So but yeah, I'm with it, man, and dude, I'm rooting for Thomasville. So let's go Dogs in more ways than one. So well, since we last left you, I do have to remind you that we are presented by betonline.ag, your number one source for all your sports wagering needs. If you want to bet it, betonline.ag has it, because BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, college basketball, NHL to UFC and MMA, and you could probably get some action on the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight, that'll be part of our picks. We'll definitely address that one because that's going to be fun. So head to betonline.ag today and get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here. So since we last left you, Georgia had played a somewhat weird game against Florida. Rolls into Ole Miss and just gets, for lack of better words, just gets dominated. And just the train got off the tracks for a second. Ole Miss came in completely ready to play. Great game plan from Lane Kiffin. He finally managed the game from start to finish very well. And Jackson Dart had a freaking day. Their defensive line was unstoppable, and it just didn't seem like Georgia could do anything right throughout that entire game. The rain, that didn't help. The weather was definitely a factor. And it led to Georgia losing that game 28-10. But Israel, the talk of the game is this: Carson Beck. People are ready to fire him to the moon. Now he's thrown a lot of picks, and at one point I was probably in the back of my mind going, "Well, maybe we should just sit him down for a little bit, just let him recharge, let Rashada finish this game, and just let him get his mojo back, I guess, or just let him take a step back and find who he really is, because Carson's not playing like Carson Beck. He's not playing like himself. And some of it's game planning, some of it's they can't protect him, and some of it is he's trying to make throws that he can't make.
The worst thing you can do And you being a coordinator as well, and you know this as well as I do, the worst thing you can do is from a coordinator standpoint. If your head coach says it, it's fine. You know, you have to do what he says do. But from a coordinator standpoint, the worst thing you can do is sit your starting quarterback down. You know, the psyche of a quarterback is really, really different because, you know, that guy, you know, he does so much. You know, he's a signal caller. You know, he's one that gets everybody in place and things like that. So, you know, and in all regards, to give you the best chance to win. You know what I mean? So sitting him down, you know, kind of loses morale, kind of shows like, hey, you know, we don't really have confidence in you right now, so we're gonna go with somebody else. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm not in favor of doing that, but you know, sometimes you have to. You know, you saw Texas do that when we played them. You know, bringing in Manning. You know what I mean? When Quinn Ewers was struggling a little bit, so you know, it to each his own. You know, but for me, you know, and I've been going back and forth with people all week. You know, so let me say this: for those of you who have never been in this situation, you know, I went through the years of, you know, getting talked about on the internet, you know, Twitter just come out, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of the people that I grew up with, you know, big Georgia fans, you know, talking trash and things like that, you know. So I've been in the shoes that this team is in right now, you know. So, guys, first of all, to the Georgia faithful, we're fine. Okay. Do we need to play better? Absolutely. You know what I mean? But it's hard. It's hard to go out here on Saturdays and win, especially now, you know. So, we're going to be fine. But in Carson's situation, you got to think, how many people did he lose off of offense from last year?
He lost Bowers, McConkey, couple offensive linemen. He lost basically the entire running back core. Yeah, lost a good bit.
Yeah. So coming back to this team this year that has playing experience with Carson Beck, we can say maybe 4 or 5 people, maybe
Yeah.
out of 11.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
Yeah.
the people don't understand how much that hurts the quarterback, how much that hurts the coordinator, you know. So in my opinion, I think Carson Beck is pressing a little bit, trying to make things happen instead of just managing the offense like he did last year. You know,
Yeah.
he's trying to create plays instead of letting plays happen. You know, and obviously you need the supporting cast around you to do their job as well. So right now, for me, you know, and seeing it happen firsthand with, you know, I played with Stafford, Cox, and Murray.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we went 6-7. You know, my junior year there. You know, we lost in Liberty Bowl. You know, so seeing it happen and seeing it come the next year, you know, we're playing for the ACC championship game. We go 0-2 at the beginning of the year, come back, win 10 straight, playing LSU in the SEC championship game. You know, so it can happen. You know, but it comes down to execution right now. From what I see, from being a former player and being a coach now, there's just no camaraderie on Georgia's football team right now. And I think that's the biggest thing that is killing Georgia right now. Now, does
Mm-hmm.
Carson Beck have to play better? Absolutely. Does he need to be a leader? Absolutely. But the team right now is in shambles right now as far as camaraderie right now. And it showed its head against Ole Miss. And that's the biggest thing that I've seen so far.
Yeah, and to me, and I want to say something about Coach Bobo too, and he's a, and I want to preface this by saying he's a great coordinator. He's done a lot of great things. I just feel like this season has been especially challenging for him because he hasn't found that way to kind of regroup after losing those 2 weapons. It seemed like that decimated him as much as it's decimated everybody else. And I feel like by week 11, you should have already adjusted by then to, okay, here's our new personnel, here's our new plan. And it just doesn't seem like he's in a groove, and it doesn't seem like the team in reaction is in a groove either, and or as a result are in a groove or not in a groove. And as a coach, what because people don't understand this, right? People don't understand, like, they just expect it to boom magically be better. We're
Mhm.
Georgia, we've got talent. They expect it to magically be better. What's the process of, you're losing Bowers, you're losing those running backs, you're losing McConkey, you have a few guys arrested, you get some, you get some things, that hit you during the summer, some
Mhm.
adversity, but like, you knew kind of what your team was going to look like. I felt like the plan should have been a little bit better. I would have probably worked the tight ends more. I don't feel like there's a lot of confidence in those guys. The receivers, I feel like we're calling games with the thought in mind that these guys can't get separation. Like, we're already conceding that because we're breaking records for however many screens we're throwing. And I would like to see Bobo be more aggressive in play calling, as far as trying to push those guys down the field a little bit more. I would like to see him be more aggressive in the run game as well, as far as getting guys at the point of attack and really just getting guys moving and just kind of increase the tempo a little bit and just kind of create a sense of urgency. Like, I don't feel like any of that's there. I feel like we're stuck in the mud.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where you're playing musical chairs up front. Tate Ratledge comes back. He gets beat. I saw one of the huge plays. That was just blatant to me. They had a sky view. We're running zone left. And I remember this like back in my mind. Running zone, and we release the whole backside.
Yeah.
So that's something that as a play caller, you're like, what the hell can I call to just get a yard? So now you're in the box and you're pressing, you're trying to make things happen. You're like, hey, and people get mad at running screens. And as an offensive coordinator, what's the quickest way to, one, get the ball out of your quarterback's hands and into the hands of a playmaker? It's a run a screen. It's real simple. It's run a screen. But we're not perimeter blocking worth a dang right now.
No, and we're doing it in predictable situations too, I think, is what's also like I think sometimes with screens, like, they kind of know with the look and with the down and distance, hey, here's the screen. Here it comes, and I think we've gotten a little predictable on that. And that's not saying Bobo sucks, and that's not like typical, hey, we're running too many screens, but like we gotta be better situationally.
Oh yeah, we're real predictable right now, and that's just something that comes along with new personnel and things like that. So, it's just one of those things to where we're just not gelling at all on either side of the football right now. You know what I mean? So, I think that is a Georgia thing that can be fixed. And I think the players feel it. And one thing about us, we go back to I think it's 2011, my senior year, and the one thing that brought us together was we all we got. We can't rely on fans. We can't rely on anybody else but the people in that locker room. And I think the team understands that now.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. You read all that stuff. You read stuff about Carson, all this stuff, and blah, blah, blah. You read stuff about the defense and things like that. So, and it's easy to point the finger, But one thing that Kirby said after the game was, hey, we control our own destiny. It is look at myself in the mirror and how can I fix me? Before I point the finger, if we lose, what did I do that, could have changed the game? If we win, hey, that guy did what he was supposed to do. And it just comes down to execution at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So we went into a hostile environment. Ole Miss is a very, very good football team. When Jackson Dart went down, I was like, oh, we got it now. We come out, we get turnover, we score, things like that. But I mean, hell, that freshman come in and throws 4 dots. They go down and score. You know what I mean? So
he leads them right down like he's been doing it for years.
And then Jackson Dart comes in and you can just feel the energy off Georgia's sideline. Just the energy that we've had in the past is not there. And that's just because a leader has not stepped up and taken that role over. We've had a lot of things happen during the offseason, and things like that. But at the end of the day, you got to line up on Saturday and play football. And I think we're missing that aspect of the game is, hey, we got to line up. We got to play football. We got to execute. We're better, and we just got to play that way.
Yeah, and that swagger is not there. Like, you don't have a Nakobe Dean to wrangle everybody on that defense. You don't have Kendall Milton and Dejon Edwards to take the team on their backs and carry them down the field. You don't have Brock Bowers who's an alien who gets you out of these situations, and you don't have that, and you have to work a little harder. And this team's just not used to that, and the fans definitely aren't used to that. And it's odd to see, but at the end of the day, you're still in the playoff hunt. So not all is lost. And Tennessee, they have a great defense, okay? But like, you look at them on offense, their first half offense, it's usually kind of a struggle. It's like a diesel. They're like a diesel engine that it takes them a minute to get cranked up on offense, and a lot of that's the inexperience of Nico. I'm Yalava nailed it, and it just takes him a minute to get in the flow of the game, and some of it is just because Heupel's in his ear playing quarterback and having to tell him what's going on, and that's just part of his development. But I think with this team, like if you can find a way to jump on them early, then you can kind of get them behind the 8 ball. Then they start scrambling. Their defense gets worn out, and there you go. But you have to, and we're going to do it, and the team hopefully has already done it. But you have to put this thing behind you, and say, listen, okay, this is what we need to fix. It's fixable. Just more energy, man. Just more energy. You need the leader to step up. You need somebody. You need that alpha. You don't have it. And who's it going to be? That's my challenge. Who's going to be the guy that says enough of this crap? Like the Ole Miss game was unacceptable. They would tell you, any player in that locker room would tell you that. Who's going to be the guy to step up and tell everybody that and say, this is unacceptable. Boom, here we go. I'm going to lead the way. I'm going to do my thing. Here we go.
Follow me. Doubt that there's a disconnect somewhere. You know what I mean? And I don't know if it's, the popularity of players, and things like that. A lot of people just read message boards and see, hey, why is this 5-star on the bench? Why is this blah, blah, blah? Here's the thing about stars, okay? They disappear when you go to college, okay? When you go to college, you start completely over, okay? So we have 5 stars on the bench. Yes, we do. But here's the thing. Can they go out there and perform when the time comes? Do they know what to do? Do they know how to do it? Are they doing what they're supposed to do, little things off the field? That's why they're not playing, things like that. So fans can talk about 5-star this, 5-star that. Those stars means absolutely nothing when you get to college, okay? So if you've ever been, here's the thing. If you want to know what those stars mean, go to a practice.
Mm-hmm.
All right. When those sound bites of Kirby Smart raising hell at practice, it's because guys aren't doing what they're supposed to do. Those 5 stars aren't doing what they're supposed to do. A 3-star, a 2-star is whooping that 5 stars ass every day at practice. So that's why that guy's not playing. You know what I mean? So just plugging a guy in does not solve the problem. The problem is bigger than just a player. The problem is the makeup of the team as a whole. And as a former player, that's what I see. That's what I'm looking at. Hey, who's going to step up? Who's going to stop the bleeding? And who's going to fix this thing to where we make the playoff and make a run? Because I think we can. We beat Texas. We beat Texas in Texas, convincingly in Texas. Our defense dominated. And we come out against Florida.
Follow suit.
Yeah, and we come out against Florida, and we just look lackadaisical. And then we come out against Ole Miss, and we're getting beat in zone. We're not putting pressure on the quarterback like we did against Quinn Ewers and Manning. You know what I mean? So it's things like that to where how's that confidence and how's that execution and preparation not going and not transferring to the next week after week after week that we're used to seeing. That's what fans aren't seeing. They're just seeing this particular part of the game. You're not seeing the whole picture. We're not carrying over everything, all the positive things we've done from week to week and carrying that to Ole Miss. We're not carrying that to Florida. And hopefully we carry what we've done positively against Tennessee this weekend.
Yeah, no doubt. And sometimes when a team is struggling and what they're struggling with is lack of energy, and the energy is causing execution problems and fundamental problems. Sometimes, honestly, like if you don't have any energy in this league, you're going to lose. It doesn't matter, right? You let Mississippi State in the game; they're the worst team in the conference. They're bad. You can tell they're going to be good if they get the right mix of people, because Jeff Lebby's got some systems in place that they're just not ready to be good yet, but you can tell they're going to be good, but they're not there yet. They play hard. So you can tell that they're doing some good things, but you let a team like that hang around with you. You mess around with Florida's third string quarterback and let him dice you up, right? You get pummeled by Ole Miss, and you have no answers for Ole Miss. But then you go out against Texas. The one game plan, I felt like defensively they just went balls to the wall and said, "Hey, we're just going to come after you. If you burn us, you burn us. But the only way we're going to get you is to heat you up." And that's been Kirby Smart's MO since he got to Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And I think mostly this season, I think he's been playing more cautiously. And
yes, I think we're playing not to lose, and we're not playing to win.
Yeah, and he's not going out there and snatching it. He's almost just trying to protect the hill, and you get knocked off the hill doing that instead of attacking and just keep acting like you're underdogs, acting as silly as it sounds, acting like you're an underdog as Georgia. It seemed to work psychologically because those guys, boom, they're coming after you. Offensively, they're coming after you like those offensive linemen on a run play. When they pull, they're pulling with bad intentions. All right, we're pushing the ball down the field. We're involving all of the weapons. We're mixing up looks. We're getting into a rhythm instead of, okay, well, we just need to play field position, and we just need to, hopefully we can play this thing to where Carson doesn't make any mistakes. And if you're going in there with a game plan of hoping Carson Beck's not going to make mistakes, well, guess what? He's going to make mistakes, and he's going to make some pretty big ones. If you go out there and let him sling, okay, if he makes mistakes, you're at least playing to your identity. And I think Georgia just needs to get back to that. That's the biggest key this week is if Georgia plays with the mentality that Georgia has played with under Kirby Smart, they will be just fine. They will beat the hell out of Tennessee. The crowd will be juiced. And everything will be just fine. Everything will be back to normal. But right now, the psyche of this team is fragile. Nothing else matters.
Yes, nothing else matters this week but execution and beating the hell out of Tennessee, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And sometimes you need a good ass whooping to get you back on track. You know what I mean? And I said that, and people thought I was crazy. But at the end of the day, sometimes you just need one of those. We came back against Alabama. That was great in the second half. But we took a whooping in that first half. We did, and we came out and played Georgia football in the second half, but there's only that half is Georgia football, and we haven't had a complete game against anybody. And what better game to have it against with game day in town? Sanford Stadium is going to be rocking. What better way to have a complete game from all three phases of the game against Tennessee this weekend? And guess what that does? That not only builds confidence, okay, then you got UMass coming in, all right? Then you got Georgia Tech after that. So that just builds momentum into going into this playoff situation. Right now, you just control your own destiny. If you win, you're in. Mm-hmm. Somebody's going to get knocked off at some point. You know what I mean? So all you have to do is win. And for me, and like I said, this is from somebody who's been in that locker room and been in these tough situations before. It's just the team has to stay together. The team has to find a way to get back to what we're used to doing, and that's just beating the hell out of people. That's what we do. We're physical, we execute, and we just beat people mercifully until they quit.
That's the MO.
And there's not one person that's going to fix it. There's not, a single play call. There's not a coordinator or anything. That's a team thing that has to happen. And once that happens, we're going to be unstoppable, just like we have been the last couple of years. I just think that right now it's to the point to where with all the off the field distractions and putting new players in new places and trying to figure out what actually is working right now, we haven't formed an identity on both sides. Injuries here and there, taking our star players out. Mm-hmm. And actually going into this week without a starting running back. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things to where adversity has hit us and we haven't responded like we normally do.
No.
That is not a one person thing. That is not a coordinator thing. That is a team thing that we have to get back to against Tennessee this week. And that may just be the coach in me talking, but this is coming from an alum that has been there and been in that locker room, and we just got to stay together and stick on our own.
I mean, I'm sitting here with a guy that went on a 10-game win streak to when you guys could have cried in your Cheerios and been like, oh, we're 0-2. Woe is me. We got our ass handed to us by Boise. South Carolina took it to us again. And it's all lost and you could have y'all could have easily done that, and people would have been like, okay, well, that's the end of Mark Richt. He's his time has come to an end. He's done a lot of great things, yada yada yada. Like, those could have been the narratives, and they weren't.
Yeah,
because you guys decided to come together and say, okay, what can we do? And this team is yet to this current team has yet, obviously, because it hasn't happened, has yet to kind of come together and do that. They've survived a bunch of games on talent alone, but they just haven't put together that complete game, and that's what they need to do if they want to be a playoff team and win the Patriot style dynasty 3 out of 4.
There's no doubt. And here's the thing, you go back to 09, the Joe Cox year, we had people doubting us then too, lose Kentucky at home, and things like that. Well, we come back against Auburn,
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Auburn's ranked in the top 10. We beat them at home.
Yeah.
We go down 14-0.
Mm-hmm.
I score. And then after that, it is, as the kids say, BTA, belt the ass after that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So then we go to Georgia Tech and run for 10,000 yards against Georgia Tech, who wins the ACC that year as well.
Yeah, I remember that. So, yeah, that was the we run the state game, right?
Yeah. Ben Jones running around with, a clump of grass in his mouth. You know what I mean? So it can be done, So it's up to the players to decide, hey, coach, we're out, as coaches, we're out of eligibility. I tell my players that all the time. I can't go out there and run around anymore. You know what I mean? But my mentality, I instill my mentality in you. So I think, Coach Smart and his staff, have to build that mentality within their players. Like, hey, we're the best.
Yeah.
This mediocre play that we've been playing is not acceptable. So now we have to go out here and we have to play Georgia football like we have been and rattle off these next 3 and be great. Because we, at the end of the day, like I said earlier, we control our own destiny. And Carson Beck, I'm riding with Carson Beck. But for him, you have to manage this offense just like you did last year without the players you had last year. And as a leader and as a quarterback, it is on your shoulders to do that. Plugging a new guy in there is not going to solve the problem. That just put the Band-Aid on the gunshot wound.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go out. You're going to be the starter, so you have to play better. And I think he understands that. I think the team understands that. But at the end of the day, execution is what's the problem right now. Execution and the connection between the players right now is the problem with Georgia football right now. And I think this week is a perfect week to get that fixed.
Yeah, no doubt. So this week, in order to get that fixed, what is the offensive game plan? How are you attacking this Tennessee defense? Like, they're talented, especially up front. Their front seven, their linebackers are really good. They run extremely well. They're just a kind of a overwhelm you SEC defense, right? They finally over there in Knoxville have a defense that's worth something. And of course, their offense isn't very good, but how do you attack this defense? Because they're going to come after you. Defenses now, and Georgia Tech's going to do this. Tennessee's for sure going to do this. Whoever we match up with in the postseason is going to do this. Any team that plays Georgia from this point forward, which is not many, but they're gonna press up, right? Because Georgia has not shown that they're going to push you deep and push you vertical. They're gonna sit all over those screens. They're gonna pack that box and say, Carson, you haven't done it yet. You're playing a little scared. Come get us. How do you attack that? Teams are gonna condense on us.
I think you take about 6 run plays, that you feel confident that, hey, I can go out here and get about 3-4 yards. Okay. How many different formations can I run these 6 run plays in? Take about 10 passes. Okay. How many formations can, I can run to run these 10 passes that I know I feel confident in that we can get a completion on. And then you just go from there. All right. So it's not an easy fix, but can we execute these 16 plays out of these different formations and be successful? And I think that's what you go with. You get Carson Beck comfortable early. You know what I mean? You're established to run early. You tell the lineman, hey, we're going to be physical. This is what we're going to do. You know what I mean? So, as an offensive coordinator, that's things I look for. How can I run these particular run plays, these particular pass plays out of these different formations and just make it look different? At some point, we're going to have to throw the ball downfield. You're going to have to protect. Carson, you're going to have to make a good throw. I also think that Carson needs to use his legs more. He's going to have to they're going to have to defend all 11 people on the field. And right now we're playing with, 8 maybe, because they're locking up Lockett the whole time. Arian Smith's dropping passes. We're not getting the production that we're used to out of our tight ends. All right. So, Carson, this game is on you right now. All right. So you're going to have to be a playmaker at this point. So I think we don't press. We found about at most 20 plays. Hey, I feel comfortable with these 20 plays right here. Now let's go out here and execute these 20 plays. Now you can dig deeper in your bag, and now you can get tricky and do things like that. So the game plan's real simple. You're playing against a really good defense. All right. We kind of know what they're going to do. Now let's just go out here and execute these plays that I know right now that can get us positive yardage.
Yeah, and I know from a mentality standpoint, you cannot let this defense dictate what you do. You cannot let them dictate what you do situationally. You have to stay on schedule. You have to force the defense to react to you. Georgia has not done that. Georgia's been very reactionary. They were against Ole Miss. It seemed like they were just shook with how good this defensive line was. And and Ole Miss's defensive line does that to people, but they've shown that they were susceptible. So if I think had Georgia been a little more urgent, they could have had a little more success against those guys and used their aggressiveness against them. Tennessee is going to be very similar. If they're going to play up on you, you got to use that against them, right? And even if you don't hit the shot, obviously don't turn it over, but even if you don't hit the shot, I mean, I'm talking like first or second play, did you run a guy down the sidelines and just bomb it to him? Just show him, hey, we're not scared. And whether you hit the shot or not is irrelevant. It shows Tennessee that, okay, well, they're going to be a little bit aggressive now. So, okay, we got to be on top of our game. And it opens things up in the run game. I think you've got to find ways to stretch them, not only vertically, but try to stretch them horizontally too and create some space for yourself, make things easy, different looks. And if you can dictate those things, you force Tennessee to play you instead of you playing Tennessee. And I think from a mentality standpoint, it makes the guys feel more comfortable with the 6 runs and the 10 passes that we like. And if you play better situationally and break some tendencies, as you said, which is a great point, you'll be able to get your screens in, which I love screens. I love that there's a screen that in particular that I love that they run. I just think sometimes they do it in too predictable of a situation where the teams are kind of all over it, but they flare the back to the field, and then they run that tunnel screen back to the boundary. And I don't know if they're reading it. I know some people. I know I've run that screen as a coordinator. I've had that in my arsenal where I had the quarterback send him pre-snap motion and read that linebacker, and if that linebacker goes, he throws the tunnel. If the linebacker freezes at any point and we get leverage, we throw that flare out there. I don't know if they have that component, but it'd be that's something, that's a play that I like that could stretch them horizontally if it's called in the right situation.
There's no doubt, and here's an idea too: send the back in motion and throw the screen, throw a ton of screen to the field. That tendency of what you usually do. You know what I mean? So, like I said, there's little things like that you can do. The worst thing you can do, is have the defense dictate what you do. It's no fun when the Rabbits got the gun. You know what I mean? So, if you're predictable, if they pick up on anything that you're doing, then they're going to stick with it. I think success early is the biggest thing that we need to have. Even if we drive the field and we punt, we change the field. That's a big thing too. And from a defensive standpoint, I think we punted last week at some point, and then we had them on the 1 yard line, and they get a third down. Let's be aggressive down there too. It's 3rd and 16 or something like that. They run a slant, a little rub route, what I call dusty, and they hit a slant. It's things like that all right, guys, let's get up in their face a little bit. You know what I mean? If they beat us over top, they beat us over top. Pass interference, not a 35-yard gain to where now, we're pressing a little bit too. You know, I think we just got to be aggressive on both sides of the ball. I think our special team is playing really well right now. So we have got to get those two components on the same page to where now we're dominating all three phases of the game.
You have opportunities defensively that if you want to, if you can get to Nico, you can get him to cough up the ball. You can get him to you can turn him over, but you can't turn him over sitting back.
Yeah.
And playing everything in front. You can't turn him like you have to treat him like any other quarterback. They should have done that with Jackson Dart. Treat him like any other quarterback. They stopped doing it. Like the first series was great. They got after him, and then they stopped. And I thought they were going to do that with the freshman guy that came in, but defensively, if Georgia plays the way they're supposed to, if Michael Williams and Jalen Walker have the games that they did against Texas, Tennessee doesn't score a single point.
Yeah, we're missing a little bit of swag on defense as well. We got our playmakers there, but we're missing that dominant guy. You know what I mean? To just take the game over, and put the team on his back. We got a group of guys that play really, really well together. But we're just missing that guy to just say, hey, this is BS. Sean Williams, one of my teammates, I remember 2012, he came out and called defense soft. You know what I mean? So, we're missing those type guys, on that side of the ball this year. Can it happen? Absolutely. And I think it's going to happen this week, but it's those situations to where you got a player that's just calling out his side of the ball. Nobody else, just his side of the ball and saying, hey, we're playing soft. We got to play better. You know what I mean? So, there's no doubt in my mind that after last week, it was an eye opener for us. We've just been kind of squeaking by games and here, there, and the other. And I hate to say this, but you go back and watch the Alabama game. What does Alabama do well? What did Alabama figure out last year? That Milroe can run football. And what they do against LSU, he toted that thing.
Oh yeah,
he's still running right now,
as they should have. They're going to struggle with Vandy, by the way, next week. Just so you know.
That's one of those things to where it's like, hey, let's figure out what we can do well, all right? And let's do it with efficiency, and let's do it with enthusiasm, and let's go out here and rectify this situation right now and get these folks off our back.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's all mentality. It's all mental with this team. They're plenty talented enough. It's all mental. So I think Georgia covers the spread. I think they get it back mentally, and until they show that they can't do it consistently, I think they get it. So
I love it. I'm all for it. And some of the criticism is warranted. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Do I think that we're the first team out? No, I think we're still one of the top 12 teams in the nation right now. We have one of the hardest schedules, right now. From who we've played, who we still have to play. So, it's just one of those things to where let's go prove who we are. Let's go out here and just play Georgia football. And I think this week is a perfect week to kind of get that thing started to where now it's like, hey, we're here. You know what I mean? We're about to make a run. And that starts in that locker room. No coach, not reading the internet, NIL stuff, that stuff don't matter. Right now, it's about this team doing what it takes to win this Saturday. Like I said, Coach Smart says it all the time, one moment at a time, one game at a time. And right now, Tennessee Volunteers are just that stumbling block, that we have to knock down. And I think we can.
Oh yeah, we definitely can, and that's that's just the way to go. And so I'm with it. You're with it. Hey, it's going to happen. So
I just hate it, from a former player standpoint. I love my boys. You know what I mean? I love each and every one of them. And I hate that they're going through this too. But we went through it. You know what I mean? And we bounced back. So, you just got to stay together. The locker room is all you got right now. As long as everybody's doing their job, everybody stays together. There's no finger pointing. When you're pointing one finger, three more is pointing back at you. So it's just one of those things to, like Kirby said after the Ole Miss game, what am I doing to help this team? in a losing situation. What am I doing? Look at yourself. And then when we win, look at your teammate and say, we did this together. And I think we're missing that together part, but it'll be nice to do that this weekend in Sanford Stadium against a sold out crowd with game day being there.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. And the juice is going to be there, and it's going to happen. Tennessee's going to roll into this going, oh boy, what did we get into? And that's going to be it. That's going to be it. So you want to pick some other games?
Let's go. What we got?
All right. Well, one of the games that intrigues me this weekend is a Southwest Conference rivalry that has been renewed. It's going to be renewed on more of a permanent basis. That's Texas and Arkansas. Texas comes in. The line is dropped all the way to 11.5 now. It was 16.5. It's dropped all the way to 11.5. The over-under is 57 or 57.5.
I love Arkansas's defense. I know they got shellacked against Ole Miss, but Arkansas's defense has played really well. It really, for me, it depends on how the offense plays. But I think with Texas coming in, I'm going to take Arkansas in this one. I think they played well enough to cover. Hell, they might win. If that defense plays like they played, a couple weeks ago. So I think I'm gonna go with Arkansas on this one.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I'm taking Texas here. I don't know, just something about Arkansas just doesn't. They don't jump off at me. I don't think they're quite ready to win a game like this. Taylor Green has been good, but he's just been kind of off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's yeah, I'm taking Texas here.
I think after playing Ole Miss, I don't think the moment would be too big for them this time. I think when they played Ole Miss, the moment got too big for them. Yeah. But I think with Texas coming in now, I think that the moment won't be too big.
Yeah, I just think Texas's defense, their defensive line is especially their defense is ridiculous. They swarm you. They're physical. They got monsters in there. I just think they're going to be too much, truthfully. Then you have LSU, Florida, which that line's now at 3.5 in favor of LSU. Florida's just decimated with injuries. I like LSU in this one, and really just only this one, because of Florida's injury situation. I would be picking Florida otherwise.
Yeah, I would be picking Florida otherwise too, but I think the injuries right now, I know DJ's playing Saturday, but can he be mobile at all? And I think that just from an injury standpoint, I think Florida's a little bit decimated, so I think I'm going to go with LSU as well.
Yeah, for sure. And then you have there's some this week is not the best week for college football, but Missouri, they're 14.5 underdogs at South Carolina. I don't know that South Carolina is ready for a big spread. I don't know that Missouri's going to beat them, but I have a hard time with this. I'm having a hard time with this one because I'm doing a super dog league at school, and I'm thinking about Missouri as a super dog because that's still a lot of points, and Missouri's still a pretty good football team, and South Carolina they've been pretty dominant lately. I just don't know that they win this one by 14.
What time is this game?
3:15.
3:15.
If it was a night game, I'm all over South Carolina, but it's not.
I think South Carolina's playing really good football right now. I think that defense is playing really well. I think I'm going to take South Carolina in this from the simple fact of just how well they've been playing lately. They come out against Texas A&M, pretty much dominate Texas A&M from the jump. Mm-hmm. As long as that defense can play well, I think they'll score enough points to beat Missouri, and I think they'll cover.
You want to see a team. I know I'm back and forth on. I'm waffling. That's my waffle game. But you want to see a team that's really found their way and improved as the season goes on offensively. Dowell Loggins has figured out Lenore Sellers, and they've been rolling offensively because he's kind of figured out, oh, well, he can do these things let's just do these things so that he can thrive. This is a weird concept, right? Oregon, Wisconsin. This game is surprisingly close, right? I'm all over Oregon on this because it's 13.5.
Yeah, well, I'm all over Oregon on that one. I think Dylan Gabriel is just going to take over a football game. I think the Oregon Ducks are playing really well, especially with Dan Lanning getting some NFL looks right now. Mm-hmm. I think the momentum's are in the Ducks' favor right now, and I mean, being the number one team in the nation right now, I mean it's hard to beat. And I think Wisconsin is 1 or 2 seasons away from being really good. It's just not going to be this year against the Ducks.
No, and I think they're at a crossroads right now at Wisconsin because I think that this fickle experiment is not quite going the way they want to, and they might be getting a little impatient. They might be getting a little restless. I think it's a little soon to get restless, but it's not pretty up there at Wisconsin, and they've been going through some sort of like roster upheaval because they've been like a 32 personnel team for a long time. And Nolan Smith just got a massive sack on Jaden Daniels, just in case you guys are watching this game. Georgia's playing tonight, actually, in Philly. Yeah, it's been weird up at Wisconsin. They've been going through this roster transformation, and they're just not there yet. And I don't know if Phil Longo is going to be the right guy. I think it's too early to tell because this team's just so up and down. But yeah, I'm all over Oregon on this one. I think the only reason the spread's even that close is because it's on the road for Oregon.
Yeah, I think that's literally the only reason. But I think Oregon's playing really good football right now. I know Dan Lanning will have a plan against that. So I think Oregon gets out of Madison with a dub.
All right. Well, speaking of dubs, you better get out of Thomasville with a dub tomorrow. Get to the second round.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Like I said, we've had a really good week of practice. Our kids are excited about it. So, it's the best time of the year in Georgia right now. It's playoffs. So, like I said, winner go home.
There you go. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us here on the Believe in Georgia Dogs podcast on the Believe Network presented by betonline.ag. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. However you found us, I appreciate you. Come back again and hang with us. Like and subscribe, rate us, all that good stuff. As Israel gets back into the 21st century with internet, he's communicating via smoke signals right now. We will, of course, we'll be right at you. Basketball season is going to be exciting for the Dogs. So when football season wraps, transfer portal stuff, obviously, coaching changes abound. I'm sure there's going to be some ripple effects. I think Todd Hartley might be rumored for Southern Miss. So stay tuned for that. Southern Miss is looking for a head coach, and Todd Hartley could get a shot, which I'd be very, very happy for him if he got a shot to be a head coach. Wouldn't blame him one bit. So that being said, that's it. We'll see you back here next time. Go Dogs, of course, and go Dogs on multiple levels.
No doubt. Go Dogs.
Peace.